Welcome to the Black Belt Business Podcast. My name is Matthew Brenner, and today I am with one of the co-founders of Action Karate, also my older brother, Solomon Brenner. Say what's up.
What's up?
So I'm really excited to have you on because we're going to continue our conversation about the 4 different phases of martial arts school growth. So if you haven't listened yet and your school is, let's say, between 0 and 10K a month in revenue, go back and listen to part 1 of this series. Okay, so part 1 is going to be the hustler phase and what your key responsibilities should be, what skills you need to master if you're between the 0 and 10K mark in your martial arts school. Because that's going to be very differently than if you're in the level 2 phase, which is going to be the builder phase, which is if you're between 10K and 50K a month. That's in still part 1 episode. So if you go back and find the growth phase episode, which growth phase are you? You'll see the 10K, and you're between 10K and 30K a month. Go back, listen to that episode first before you listen to this one. Then the last episode we did part 2. We did the scalar phase, and our goal in that episode was to do level 3 and level 4, but our conversation went long, so we just did level 3, which is the scalar phase, which is revenue range between 30K and 50K, all the responsibilities that come with that, and what skills you really want to work on and master in that level range. Now, the one that we're going to work on today, we're going to push for, is going to be level 4. This is the CEO phase. So this is the revenue range from 50K, 83K a month. So that's going to be $1 million school. So if you are in this phase, you should be watching this video. If you want to get to this phase, so maybe you're doing 30 to 50, so you're not there yet, and you're curious what that's going to look like, this video is going to be for you. Okay, this podcast episode is going to be for you because we're going to walk through the responsibilities that you're going to need to master and and really what your focus should be. So like what I have written here in front of me is if you want to get to level 4, the CEO phase, you really want to scale sustainably and remove yourself from some of the daily grind. Okay. Now, when I say daily grind, I thought it doesn't mean you don't work anymore, right? That's a great way to have your school slowly start to fail. Okay. And slowly start to fall apart. But if you're going to remove yourself from some of the things within your school, right? Like what things do you think would get the chopping block first?
Well, I just think you're just doing more, really. Like, you might not be doing the first lessons or second lessons. You might not be teaching all the classes, but you're still responsible for all that. And what are you getting rid of first? You're probably just getting rid of first things you are worst at, not what you like least, but you're worst at, or what your people are best at. So at one point in my journey, I was an instructor. And I said, I'm never doing enrollments. I never want to do that job. That's a terrible job. I just want to teach class. And then all of a sudden, like, there was like an opportunity to do that. And somebody asked me to do it. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. So then I was an enrollment director. And then the opposite happened. I said, I'm never teaching class. An enrollment director is way better because you can like make your own schedule. Like, if you want to take off, you just don't schedule lessons. Like, it seemed easier. And then when we opened our schools, of course, it only made sense that I was the head instructor. So then I went back to that. So I think you just kind of have to, you're obviously great at everything. But if you're running a solid school, you're teaching great classes, you understand how to enroll people, you understand the metrics and the science of it. And then I think it's easy to say what you're going to replace, but for us, I think it's whoever you're developing, whoever shows up and what their skill set is and what they're going to be great at, you put them in the position that's great for them and you just do the other work.
Have you ever tried to force people into the wrong position just because of need? And if so, like what happened?
Well, obviously it makes it sound like it's going to go bad. I've tried to force people into positions that I thought they would be good at, that they were just like, shy or unconfident or had imposter syndrome. And some of the times it worked out great. What doesn't work out great is when you think, oh, if they're good at this, they must be good at that. And sometimes it's true, but the problem is you never know. And plenty of times I put people, I invited people to be in what we would consider like maybe like school manager or something like that, above like, let's say, head instructor. And they're a great instructor in class, but managing the school, which in my mind is almost like the same thing, turned out to not be very good at all. And it's usually they're not good at it. And of course, we try our best to retrain. But if it turns out just not to be they're good at it, they're not happy, and you're definitely not happy, because everything, there's all these details that are falling apart, that are falling through the cracks. And it's generally okay. It's good, but it's just not great. And we're always striving to be great. So yes, I've messed that up many, many times.
So is there a way for you to predict like who's going to be good at what? Like, how do you figure that out?
One is always be training, right? So, of course, when you're stuck and there's nobody around, there's only one person there and they're sort of okay. Well, that's your only option. So then it is what it is. So one is you're always training the new people. You're always trying to, improve. And then how do you predict? Watch very closely. Like you might not be like again doing everything every day. You might not be going to all the school programs, but going to some of the school programs you're watching. I know that's something that you love to do, which is watch, game film, watch them teach class and also watch them under stress. They go to talk to a parent and they hate it, or they're teaching class but they didn't hand out the paperwork, or they didn't like talk to somebody about black belt leadership, or they didn't do like some piece of it. You're going to notice it, and then when you talk to them about it the next time you watch, are they better at it? And if they're not better at it, well, that's your sign that maybe that's not their thing. And then you have to figure out, is it really not their thing, or they're not trained well enough yet because they're just not confident to do it. Like if you think about the people that you train to go do like preschool programs, a lot of people don't do it because they're just afraid to go talk to the preschool. And it's not like a fear thing. They're just uncomfortable because they never did it before. But once you give them the script and you do some role playing and they book their first one, they're like, oh, that was easy. Or they're just not good at it and they're never going to be good at it. So you have to kind of like try and figure that out. It's all just constant experimentation.
Yeah, one of the things you always taught me is you don't want to stick a square peg in a round hole, right? But the hard part is you never really know whether someone's going to be good at something. So sometimes I think we'll count people out, like, oh, they'll never be good at that, and it turns out they end up being incredible, and vice versa, where we think they're going to be great at something. Maybe they're really friendly, they're great at talking to parents, but then when they go to enroll people, even if we train them a lot, even if we feel like we give them the tools and resources necessary to be good at it, it just doesn't work out, and they're better somewhere else. So I think there is some of that of like, hey, try it and see how it goes, with of course supervision. Right? It's never like, hey, I'm just going to hand this position to you and good luck. Oh, you don't enroll people. Well, that's, I feel like, your fault. Right? I was talking with a school owner and he was telling me how he had someone who his instructor who he also wanted to enroll people, and he wasn't getting his enrollment numbers. And I'm like, okay, well, what about before you hired him? And they weren't getting enrollment numbers then either. So I'm like, okay, well, how did you expect this person to go when you didn't have it figured out before, and all of a sudden this person go teach in class and they're supposed to enroll people, and obviously they weren't trained the right way because it wasn't working before then either, where you're kind of setting that person up for failure and you're setting yourself up for like a bitter relationship, right? And it's kind of like any relationship. In the beginning, everyone has their best foot forward, where they're going to show you the best version of them. But then as time goes along, you start to find out the real version of them, right? You go on a couple dates in the beginning, everyone's going to have, their napkin on their lap, right? They're going to, maybe not say any curse words. They're
No
going to be
farting,
very
no
careful.
farting.
No farting, right? But then you're living with the person 6 months or a year, a couple years later, and they're letting it rip in bed. It's a different scenario, right?
Yeah, of course.
That's when you know
You
the true
bother
them.
you.
So I feel
Okay.
so even if you hire someone you think you get them, I feel like it always takes a bit longer, usually 6 months to a year, to figure out the real them, right? And I even had today in my newsletter post, if you're watching this, and you can go back and read it, and talks about like hiring from the inside versus the outside, and like what are the benefits of each. And we've had very people be very successful that we've hired from the inside, but also the reverse of that, right? We've had some really bad cases of people from the outside and really bad cases from people from the inside. So you never really know until you really put them in the position. I know when I worked and I had an internship at Merrill Lynch, they would hire fast and they would fire fast. They felt like, hey, like, we don't really know if you're going to be any good. We're happy to hire you pretty quickly after you went through the training process. And it was like sink or swim, right? And if you didn't do well, boom, you were out. Now that I think that was a tough culture to be in, but I guess it made also the cream kind of rise to the top. So the next part of, I guess, that CEO phase that I think is really important is like the key responsibilities. So the next part is like hiring and developing leaders who lead others. So obviously that's a big topic, but what do you do to hire and develop leaders within your school? And by the way, for people who are listening, I should have had a better introduction. I just assume you watch the other videos. So Solomon, my older brother, is the co-founder of Action Karate at over 30 locations, millions of dollars of revenue every single year. You're listening to someone who actually has done this, not just like a marketing company or anything like that. So, and currently runs schools as well. And I own a couple locations too. Okay, so how do you train your staff in terms of developing leaders who actually lead other people?
At the end of the day, I think we're all just problem solvers, and I think the more successful you are, and defining success would be helping more people, having more students, more revenue. I think that bigger the challenges become, right? It just becomes like bigger issues to overcome. We train them based on like constantly monitoring what their challenges are and then trying to, okay, here's what happened in the future. Let's fix it this way. And then I'm trying to think of the word. It's like downstreaming. What's that word?
Upstreaming?
Upstreaming? Yeah. So like up, no, it's got to be downstreaming, right? Whatever. You get the idea. Like, the problem's over here, but you're going to try and fix it over here. Like, you're going to talk about quitting in the first lesson, not when the person wants to quit, kind of thing. So with leadership, somebody's hiring a new person, we'll talk to them about what we think the challenges are going to be over the next 6 months. So as a leader, they can talk to that person about it and say, all right, so this is what's going to happen over the next 6 months. Here's how you're going to feel. We believe, let's make sure we get there. And then we're constantly doing John Maxwell and the habits books and like all the different things that we can find. But it's a constant work in progress, right? Because at the end of the day, the asset is really the people, right? Like all of our instructors are the most important people because they take care of our students. And we say like, we're constantly like, whenever something happens, all right, what book can we read? What video can we watch? What do we need to talk about in our meetings? But it's this constant refining again. And there's like no secret to it. The only perfect formula is that it's a constant influx of fix, 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 and not being upset that sometimes you have to say things a lot of times. Sometimes you have to, the book didn't work. All right, let's get a video. The video didn't work. Okay, we have professional coaches that talk to our team. That work, don't work. Bring in guest instructors and just constantly feed them until it's said in a way that they get it and that they embrace it and they start using it. And we have meetings, every week. We have 4 meetings a week with everyone, and then we also have one meeting a week with people that own multiple locations to help them become better mentors.
Mm. Yeah, one of the things I always liked that I think other people can kind of model is not just teaching general leadership. I mean, I think general leadership is good, but solving what actual problems you guys are having or we're having within the actual school, right? And then we'll find some piece of content, like you mentioned, a podcast, a book that teaches that concept. And then that way it's not just like us teaching it, but it's like someone else giving those lessons, right?
Yeah.
Until it clicks. Whether we're hiring Dave Kovar to come and fly across the country to come teach our staff, or doing a Zoom call with a certain industry professional, whatever issues you currently have. So maybe you're having an issue with the sales process, or maybe you're having an issue with culture within your school. Okay, cool. Find something that's like there's no shortage of content nowadays that's really good and really easy to find where someone has talked about that topic, and make sure you watch that video or listen to that podcast with your team and then talk about it and talk about how you can implement it, and not just always you kind of just like, I don't know, barking directions at the staff. And one of the things you mentioned I want to go back to, because I feel like it's so important, is and I think you had the right idea, which is you want to like upstream, which is like talk about things that are going to be issues before they're issues. That way it's not a surprise later. Okay. So when someone comes on board and let's say you're in the 50K to 83K range, now you're hiring a full time person. This full time person is going to make, I don't know, between, depending on where you live in the country, 60 and 120K a year, right? This is like their full time job, right? They're managing the school. This is what they do every day, 5, 6 days a week, 40 plus hours a week. What things are they going to run into that you're going to upstream? Like, what is in that conversation that you're going to have with them that's going to prevent problems down the line?
I mean, hopefully we already know them pretty well as far as their character, so hopefully that's out of the way. So we know they're, naturally a good person. Depends if they're coming in as like a manager or they're coming in as a partner. We have different conversations for each one. If they're a manager, we like to tell them how they can become a partner, what we're looking for and what kind
Can you define partner for people that don't
of
know?
partner is they're running, partner, they're an equity partner. They usually buy in for like anywhere from 10 to 49%. And, they're a partner. They get paid as an employee for doing the job, usually head instructor, enrollment director person. And they also get paid the profit quarterly as well. And then like a manager would be just the first part of it. They're pretty much doing the exact same job, but whether or not they buy in as an owner or not, and we prefer they buy in as an owner because we think they're the most valuable people. So we want them to, feel like a piece of ownership. However, even if they don't have that, they get a percentage of the revenue anyway. So we really truly treat everyone as a partner.
Yeah, so if you're a manager, you'll get a revenue share, right?
Yeah.
Which is like a portion of the gross revenue that comes in. If you are a partner, that means you invested money into the business, and now you also get a piece of, besides working there and getting a piece of the revenue share, you also get a percentage of the profit of the equity, right?
Yeah. Right.
So you get to kind of double dip. I think next episode we'll kind of talk about that, like, hey, when to actually sell a piece of your school to someone else so they become a partner in the school. So as you start to scale, and I know that for many years, like we didn't really do that. It wasn't really our thing, but now we do it. We absolutely love it. So we'll talk about the positives and we'll talk about the negatives of that, and we'll do a follow up episode on that as we go to a bonus level 5, which is schools that are doing over $1 million a year. But let's go back to the manager part. Okay, so what other challenges are managers typically going to have that you're going to want to upstream and talk to them about before it becomes an issue?
So it's all, and the majority of it is internal dialogue, right? So if they've never worked as a full-time martial artist and they have a family, they're going to have challenges at home with, now I'm working during the hours I used to be at home, right? Like they're working from 4 to 8:30 or 4 to 9. They're not home till 9:30 maybe. So talk to them about make sure their partner, their spouse is on board and having that conversation from the beginning because you don't want like a few months in and then the other person be like, this is terrible, I hate this. How they're going to deal with there's a lot. I think there's a ton of benefits because we've been doing it for so long. But certainly, like if you're used to being home with your kids after school and now you're not, okay, well, how are you going to feel about that? How are you going to deal with that? I'd rather bring it all up front. We have people that are like, oh no, I'm not home after school, but I pick them up, I bring them to the school, and we all work together. I love it. And dad or mom or who the opposite is takes them the other time. And every morning I get them ready for school and I drive them to school and I love that time together. And I do my grocery shopping at 11 a.m. on Tuesdays. Nobody's in the building. It's like amazing. I don't have to go when everybody else goes. So there's lots of benefits to it, but there's also negatives, and just try and like bring up those negatives from the beginning. And then if they've never done like enrollments, the sales part of it, if they've never done it before, especially if they're like in their like if they've been with us forever, I guess from kids, it's usually a little bit easier for them. But if they have like money hangups, then like trying to help them get past that. And we did some of that the last call. Um, and then also, most importantly, if they're a manager, sharing with them the vision of how to get to become a partner. Like, all right, this is what we're looking for. This is what we want. If you get there, it's usually pretty much they decide. Like if we like them, it's pretty much once they get to a certain point, we'll start talking to them. Like, okay, what do you want to do? Because it only makes sense that they're a partner for them and for us.
So you're going to share with them all the negative sides of
Anything
the
I can think
job that
of.
they're about to enter. Anything you can think of, yeah. So you mentioned if they have kids not being there at nighttime when they get home or going to bed, maybe not be able to help their child with
Hold
their
on for one
homework,
second.
and
Hold
now,
on. Hold on. One of the things we talk about with that is number one, you could do daytime stuff. Number two is
well, we'll talk about the positive. Let's talk
okay,
about the
good.
negative
Okay,
first.
okay, sure.
Because I think everyone, if they're about to become a manager, right? Tell me if you agree with this. If they're about to become a manager, about to make this their full time thing, they're probably already excited and positive about it, right? They're not like, I don't know, maybe. I mean, they might be like that, but that would maybe make me a little bit nervous, right? I mean, everyone should be, I think, I don't know, a little apprehensive whenever they're starting something new. But you've probably said a lot of positive things already about how great it is, and they could probably already see it. So let's talk about the negative things of working in the martial arts industry when it's your full time job, right? That way, when it comes up later, this isn't the first time you're having this conversation. Hey, this is normal. This is expected. This has happened before. So, for instance, you don't put your kids to bed, right? Okay, and then or maybe now your wife or husband has to do the homework with the kids instead of you. and now they're upset at you because you're not there when the kid is struggling with their homework to help them, right? You're getting home really late at night. You have to oftentimes work on maybe Saturdays when you're doing special events or marketing. um, Answering the phone, maybe if you're answering the phone for the school when things are difficult, or not when things are difficult, when doing some sort of event or something, or you're answering the school to set up appointments. Okay, cool, we're on a date, or maybe we're with the family, but I got to answer this because every phone call is worth, let's say, $2,000 to $3,000, maybe $2,000 to $4,000, depending on how much your tuition is. And if I don't answer it, they're going to call it the next martial arts school on the list. Maybe judgment from friends, right? Oh, you're working at a martial arts school? Like, that's not necessarily as held in the same esteem as working as I don't know, a pharmacist, right? Or working as a corporate executive, right? So, especially if they're younger and maybe they're not making a lot of money yet. So maybe they're in their 20s and the school's newer and they're only making, I don't know, 3 grand a month or 4 grand a month. And all of a sudden all their friends are making more money than them and they're working really hard. All their friends clock in and clock out. Like, how does that gonna make them feel? Right? They might feel like eventually, hey, this is stupid. My friend has a job, he's making 120K, and he never has to answer the phone, and he's done by 5, and the work never follows him. I'm not done till 9:30 at night. But eventually you'll be able to maybe way surpass him in what you do and have way more fulfillment in your job. But these are negative feelings that people are naturally going to have, right? Is there anything that you'd like to add that you think are part of the conversation and like of negative things? When people quit, they're going to be really mad at you. You have to answer. Not always. Hopefully, rarely they're mad at you, but sometimes, every once in a while, we're in a customer service industry. Someone's going to be upset. They're going to send an angry email. You might take it personally, right? You might feel bad. You're going to screw things up. Is there anything else you want to add that, like, those are the things off the top of my head, that conversations we've had, and like, hey, these are the things that are going to happen. Let's talk about how we're going to deal with it when it comes up, right? Is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, no, I mean, they're all certainly not fun parts, but I don't think there's any great job that doesn't have negatives to it. I mean, everything has some negative to it.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, every job is going to have something negative, just like there's no perfect partner, right? There's no perfect husband or wife or whoever. Like, there's always going to be negatives that you find out later, and I'd rather tell them, hey, these are the things that are going to happen later. I know one of the things you talk about that I think is incredible and really important to do is get their family on board. Like, go out to dinner with the person's boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife and get them on board and say, hey, he's going to be working late nights or she's going to be working late nights. Like, is there anything we could do to help you with the kids with their homework? Or, like, it's going to be a struggle sometimes, but it's going to be worth it. But tell them a lot of the negatives too. Let them know what it's going to be like. That way, you don't have something all of a sudden blow up in your face one day, right? They've been having these conversations when the husband gets home, has conversations with his wife, who's angry at him all the time. Eventually, they explode, and he says, "All right, I'm out of here. I'll give you my 2 weeks," right? And because you never really addressed it, right? So getting the family on board and supportive is extremely important. I would say it's like absolutely required. Like, if you don't have the family on board, eventually they're going to be talking to you when they get home, and they're going to leave. Do you agree with that?
Of course, yeah, everybody's got to be on board. Absolutely.
So how do you is there any other way you handle that situation in order to get them on board?
I mean, we just talked about it. We thank them for letting that person, live their dream. It's got to be something this person really truly wants to do. And hopefully, in reality, it's a better opportunity for them long term than they can ever possibly do in any other like thing that they're qualified to do. You know what I mean? Like, so eventually it should be better hours they could do anywhere else. Eventually it should be better money than they do anywhere else. And then the obvious part of the fulfillment, we're super lucky because we're constantly helping people again and again and again and again. So the fulfillment part for us and making a difference, even people that like do what you would think is, I don't know, I was gonna say like super cool jobs or something, they still want to do our job. Like everybody wants to do what we do because we make a direct impact. Even people that like our teachers will talk about yeah, I know I teach class, but the parents are kind of a pain, or the bureaucracy of the school is a pain. Like I feel with martial arts, like you're there in it with them every day and you're making like a direct impact exactly on their character and their fitness and their health and their morals and their, life code. That part of it is like the best, the easiest, thickest part of it. And it's the other things you got to kind of layer on.
Yeah, so them seeing, I mean, I think in order to get to that manager position, they're going to kind of recognize that, like, hey, this is really, really valuable, right? Like, this is going to be something that I'm going to feel good getting home at night instead of just sitting in front of a computer all day and I feel like I'm typing away in a corporate job, and nothing wrong with that, right? But it's not the same satisfaction if you love teaching martial arts, love being around kids and adults and being in the martial arts industry. Mm. And I think from there, I think we understand about hiring and developing leaders who lead others. But I think the other part of it that we haven't talked about is them wanting to be you, right? Or wanting to be a version of you. I just got off the phone earlier with one of my instructors, and he was telling me about how he finished 75 hard and how much he loved that he did it. And he added all these challenges to his black belt. And he was thanking me that I did it publicly so he could see it and he would want to do it too. And how he didn't really have leaders in his last organization he was in that would do things outside the school, at least not publicly, that he would want to model and want to be a part of. Right. And I was like, oh, first of all, I was very grateful he said that to me. I was like, thank you very much. It's also the reason why I make it public. So I feel like it can inspire others and help others. But I also think that, like, it's almost like your moral duty that if you're doing something to improve your life, that you let other people know because there's going to have a trickle down effect in your business. So maybe you're, I don't know, maybe you're a Taekwondo competitor and you're still competing, or maybe you do pull-ups every morning, or you're eating better and you have abs or something. Like, I don't know, whatever you're doing to make your life better. I don't think you have to be a perfect human, but I think you want to constantly show improvement. So they're going to want to show improvement and constantly improve their life. And that's how you're going to get leaders who develop other leaders,
I think you have to be
right?
like, I mean, we know the law of the lid, right? You can only lead people underneath you. So if you're a five, you're leading fours and threes or twos. If you're a seven, you're leading sixes and fives and fours. So I always think of it as like I have to work so hard constantly. I know you were saying like step out of the grind, and I just hate that phrase. Maybe a way to look at it, at least for me, is I got to constantly make myself better so that I can like step up a step and then I can pull somebody up with me. And then I step up a step and I can pull somebody with me. But I can only do that if I'm constantly trying to make myself better. I certainly don't do it like you do publicly, but I like today I ran, I did some resistance training, and I took a yoga class, and now I'm doing this with you. So, and that's every day pretty much for me. Like I'm always trying to improve myself with all that stuff because I know the only way to lead is to lead by example. And and every other organization I think does that. So for us, we're so lucky to be part of it because, Mr. Mercurial will tell me about the book he's reading, or Mr. Nichols will be, going to some seminar, or I don't know, Miss Jackie's doing, like, everybody's doing something. So, and because I'm a little bit competitive, there's no way that I'm going to like show up without what I learned on my podcast, or when they say, "Oh, did you work out today?" There's no possibility I'm saying no. Like, no matter what time I have to get up early in the morning, I'm going to go, even just go weighted vest walk. You have got to. You're not stepping out of the grind. You're just rising yourself up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a grind, and there's no such thing as like passive income where you do nothing and just make a ton of money. If there is, let me know. Like, I'm happy to do that too. Okay. And when I say out of the grind, I just mean like a different type of grind. It's really what it is, right?
Yeah,
It's
but I
not like
like
the
all of it.
same
I feel like
problems, you choose
I
different
feel like you
problems.
even use the word. To me, grind seems like a negative, and I get what it is. Like when you're talking about like answering the phone. I answer the phone for all of our instructors, directors, townships, everywhere I go, whether I'm driving somewhere, I'm on a golf course. The only time I don't answer on a golf course if I'm on like some exclusive golf course where they specifically say the words no phones allowed, and then I'm pretty much trapped. And I'll respect that rule. But other than that, like I've had people say to me on the golf course, you've taken like 7 calls today. I know, but I have the privilege to golf in the middle of the week, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Of course, I'm going to help all of our people. Like, there's no like, I don't answer the phone anymore. That's their deal. No, like, they have a question that I can help. I'm delighted to do it. And the fact that I get the golf is because I'm answering those questions. And it's not like I dislike it in any way. So I think if you do dislike that, like, oh, when I get home, I'm not answering their call. This probably isn't the right thing for you because like I always want to help 100% of the time. There's never times that I don't want to be involved in my car. Like I would leave the golf course if I needed to, if somebody really needed help, and I wouldn't mind it. Like I like it.
Yeah, and I think what you said earlier was important is like when you're at this phase, the CEO phase, yeah, you kind of walk away from the grind, you hit that word of the things you actually don't like doing, right? Like, so if you didn't like answering the phone, let's say for the business, then have someone you can hire that can answer the phone for the business, and you could do more of the stuff that you love, right? Maybe you do more of the leadership team meetings or the curriculum development. So it's not like you're leaving the grind, you're just doing a different part of it, right? Your just role changes, right? Because if you constantly do the thing you hate forever, A, you're probably not going to be that good at it if you hate it.
I think that's also, there's definitely things that I liked less, no doubt. But there's nothing I really hated. Like I didn't like Ninja Sharks in the beginning, like the 5 and 6 year olds. But like I never like I don't think I ever like hated anything. And I think you have to look at it like you're just making room for more people. You're not like getting out of anything. You're just making room for more people. But if they said like I teach class every Thursday, right? I've never left class on Thursday not high, like feeling like, oh my God, that was awesome. And like, I loved doing it. Like never once. There's definitely days I don't want to maybe. Like I'm like I feel like maybe I didn't prepare well enough or I'm just tired or whatever. But never when I'm done am I not happy that I did it. Never, never. So I think like we're so lucky to do what we do. The cherry on top is enjoy it. Like you should enjoy it. And I guess the only thing I really don't like, the thing I hate the most, is when people quit. And I've never gotten over that. I guess that's something I
Yeah, I don't think you're answering emails for all the schools when someone's like, "Hey, I want to freeze or stop." Right? Like, yeah. So, okay, let's go to the next one, which is going to be adding profit centers. Right? So, just tuition. Obviously, you can have a school with if you have a lot of students, with just tuition itself can get you really far. But there's obviously other profit levers that you can pull in order to make more money. So, let's say you're in the 50 to 83K range. What kind of profit centers do you think you can do or add to your school that are going to add value to your students and also help you?
well, first of all, I don't really know the real stat. However, my guess is tuition should be 80 to 90% of it. I mean, I think if you did nothing else, your tuition, if you're making, if you have like 200 students and your expenses are right, remember it starts with the expenses, right? Like that's where it really starts. It doesn't start with like, oh, I'm going to run like another seminar. Like if you have to do that, like there's something wrong. Like that's all bonuses and that's all wonderful and you should all do it. But it's got to start with your expenses are super controlled as possible and your especially fixed expenses, meaning like rent and stuff, like unfixed would be like uniforms because you enroll more people, you need more uniforms. But anyway, certainly you can add like I like that see like what I can add that like gives them value and also like helps to generate new students and helps our current students be have better retention. So the easy stuff is like weapons clinics, right? Like that's just like fun to do. You do it like a couple hours on a Saturday, you charge $49 or $99. They get the weapon, they get the clinic, and they love doing it, and they get to bring a friend or something, or board break. I mean, I assume anybody listening to this knows all this stuff. Um, Uniform, upgrades. And again, like I don't know about everybody else, but like when I golf, I love getting a new pair of shoes. I can't wait to go play. It seems like the silliest thing. Like the shoes are pretty much the same as the last shoes, but they're like a little newer and I can't wait to go do it. So if they get a new uniform, they're also super pumped about going to do it, right? Like it's not like I'm just trying to sell them a uniform. They're gonna like enjoy, like they're gonna feel bless you, they're gonna feel the snap of it. Obviously, like we do t-shirts and shorts during the summer. That's also marketing, right? Like they bring them, we try and make sure they get like two or three of them, so they wear them to camp, they wear them to the pool. So that's marketing for us. And people will talk to them about it, people will notice it. It's also more comfortable in class. And again, when I get a new T-shirt, I can't wait to go wear it. Like I'm excited by like anything new that I get. I just bought a brand new hat. Like literally, I'm dying to wear it. So I think all of it is should be there should be a profit in it. There should be a retention piece to it, and there should be maybe get us new students. And just people being excited about class gets us new students.
So, do you think every event has to have all three of those components, or certain events are more based for retention, some are more based for profit or generating new students, some are based on
I
revenue?
guess if the question is it perfectly balanced? Probably not. Like a weapons seminar will probably be more for retention and maybe some profit compared to getting new members. But you could argue the person goes home and they're super excited about their staff and they tell their friend about it. You'll get a member that way. Or if you invited, hey, you can bring a friend to a staff seminar or a nunchuck seminar or whatever. I think, yes, I think it's not balanced to answer your question. But I think you can make it more balanced if you do it properly or, add to it.
Sure. And then one of the things that I was talking about with a different multi-school owner, I think it was Donovan Ryder I was talking to about it, and he learned this from someone else, where they changed their weapons seminars or any special event they did, instead of calling it seminar or workshop, they just changed it to camp. And all of a sudden, enrollment spiked like crazy. And so now I know that I talked to someone else on our team about this already, to talk to you about it. I don't know if he told you, but I was like, from now on, let's just call it camp. Literally the same exact thing, just call it camp, like pro tip. And we're going to be trying that out and see if that does better. Because camp sounds way more fun than, I don't know, seminar. It
It
sounds like
is
for
one
old
of those
people, probably,
things
if you're a
that
kid.
if it's true, and I know, Mr. Ryder is a rock star, operator, so it's probably true. It's like such like a little thing that is like awesome, but like if you're not constantly networking or learning, then you're never going to know it. You're never going to use it. So like my life becomes so much easier because you told me that, and then you told me that a couple, like last week or the week before. I did forget,
Yeah.
but now you brought it up again. I'll be texting Sensei Michael later, like, hey, did we put camp on everything? Uh,
Yeah. Make sure camp on
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, of course. But like if I didn't have this network with so many people, then like I would never learn it. You were talking earlier about like Hanshi Kovar coming. Remember, he comes 2 to 4 times a year. It's not like he comes once in a while. And we just had a friend of mine from like another piece of my network, Marone Klein and Louise Klein, and they work. They always have like this funny thing. They're like, we work with small companies like Lockheed Martin and Boeing, and they name like 5 other ginormous companies. And I was like, hey, can you come do a seminar for us on like people development? Because that's what they do, right? Like they train the C-suite of how to help people get past their own insecurities so that they're doing a better job. And he's like, yeah, I'll come do it. And he did it. It was just wonderful. But if you're not like constantly, and the only reason I was able to invite them to come do that and hire them to come do that is because I'm constantly learning and I knew them. I mean, you've known them probably for 5 or 7 years. I've known them probably for 10 years. But like if I wasn't doing that, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying like you have to be the person who's constantly looking for opportunity.
And if you're at the CEO phase, your school's doing 50 to 83K a month, so you're doing almost $1 million a year or a million, you should have to be developing friendships that of other martial arts CEOs, but also people who run other companies and do other things, right? Like people who are entrepreneurs in other industries. That way you can learn from them. Don't just stay insular in the martial arts industry. Learn from every industry. And that's how you're going to get ideas from other people doing other things. Like I know even when I was a teenager, we'd be going to put flyers in different businesses, right? We'd walk into a Pilates school or something or a yoga studio and be like, look at how they designed it. Like, oh, cool, let's do this, let's do that. Like we're always looking. Starbucks, doesn't matter. There's always things that we can learn from other businesses. So I think if you're at the CEO phase, you got to think like bigger picture. How do I get this to run like a well functioning company? Not like I am the puppeteer of every single movement. Because if you want to be a CEO, you have to encourage other people to lead. Right? You can't be just you doing everything. You got to be encouraging other people to lead. Leaders
Can I
develop
tell you
other
something
leaders.
that is one of my biggest frustrating things, and if it frustrates me, it probably could frustrate other people, is people believing there's such a thing as a well-oiled machine. I don't think that's the case. I think you're just constantly fixing, fixing, fixing. The goal is to the outside world, it looks like a well-running machine, right? So like our tournament to the world looks like everything's happening perfectly. But really behind the scenes, it's like, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. Every karate class is the exact same thing. All of our meetings, we're constantly solving issues. There's no such thing, at least I haven't found it. And the friends that I have that run companies ginormous, where they work in big industry, like Fortune 500 companies. They said like, oh, if you saw what happened before this happened, it was a total crap show. Like I hear that all the time, and it just makes me feel better. And what's frustrating is people in your own organization sometimes, whatever, like they think every other company is running smooth. That's not what it is. It's just got to look smooth to everybody else. It's got to look smooth to your customers and everybody else. But on the inside, it's constant problem solving. That's what being in business is.
Yeah, and if you don't see behind the curtain, which other in other companies, which you never do, unless there's a giant scandal that
Right.
ends up on the news, then you never really know. Yeah, that's a really good point. Thanks for sharing that. I know another profit center that we like to do is like premium events, or I guess like premium short term memberships, which is like Hit Team. I know it's something we really like to do where we will do almost like group private lessons for. Do we do one day? I know we experimented. Are we doing one day right now, or are we doing
Think
like
some
three
people
weeks?
it's never really one day, but the bulk of it might be one day. And it might be like 4 hours, 5 hours, and they learn like it's only like I don't know between 6 and 12 people, and they have to learn like another entire cycle of curriculum. So for us, it'd be like 3 months worth of curriculum. And they have to pretty much be amazing at it. And they can earn like another rank. They don't earn it in the 4 hours. They have to like, there's all these practices and other things, but like the time of the main instructor, that might be like 4 hours for them, like on a Saturday. And then I don't know, they might meet with them for 30 minutes after that a couple times. But there's like a book component they have to read. There's like physical requirements every day for those 3 months. So when they earn their new rank, so they'll earn like two ranks at once if they pass. It's pretty significant. Like they work 4 times as hard as everybody else. And I don't know what we charge for it. It's like 4.95 maybe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's about $500. Yeah,
And
yeah,
we'll get like six to
yeah.
12 people per group.
And do that like 2 or 3 times a year, sort of thing.
Yeah, and they love it, right? Because like sometimes like siblings that want to catch up to their other sibling or their parent wants to catch up or something to like a rank so they can test for black belt together. And like it's hard to quit karate when you just invested 3 months of not just coming twice a week, but like all this other, they do meal plans. I mean, they do all kinds. And it's like 4 or 5 things within the hit team that are pretty intense. I mean, it's almost like you were saying earlier, like 75 hard. Like it's like 3 months of like pretty intense stuff they normally wouldn't do. So like you start to identify yourself as a martial artist. So again, it's a revenue generator. They tell their friends about it. They get a special T-shirt for it. We give them a book they have to read. They have to do a book report pretty much. They have to talk about it publicly. There's all these things along with all the curriculum. A certain number of kicks every day that like the normal student's not going to do. But they commit to all this. So it builds retention, profit center. Yeah, that's a good example. Plus, they probably tell their friends. I know they tell their friends about it because it's so hard. Just like you tell your friends about 75 hard, they're telling their friends like, "Oh my God, I'm part of this thing in karate. It's like impossible. Like it's killing me." But then there's a
Yeah.
sense of pride.
One of the things I talked about with one of our instructors recently, and we're going to play around with it. And I actually challenged one of my clients to do this as well. And I'm sure as we start to implement and then test, we'll see how it goes. But offering a first class ticket in your martial arts training for a membership. Okay. So for instance, what I mean by that is every time you go to book a flight, there's an economy flight and there's business class and first class, right? And it's not like business class or first class like a little bit more. It's like 5 to 10 times the amount, right? Like if you're booking a class, across the world, let's say it might be $500 in economy. For business class or first class, it's probably 5 to 10 grand. Okay, it's way more. Now you might think, who's gonna buy that? Well, that's how the airlines make all their money. They make the money from the business class and the first class, not from the economy section. So the question is like, what can you offer in your martial arts school that someone would be willing to pay double or triple or quadruple? Now it's not everyone. This is a small percentage of people, right? But this is where you start to really increase your profits, like an airline would do. That would be actually worth it to them because they love it and they really want to do it. To them, they feel like it's worth it. Like, what can you actually offer them? What's a first class ticket in your martial arts school? What does that look like? Right. So that's what I challenged one of our instructors earlier this week. And he texted me like, my mind's going crazy. I have like all these ideas. All right, put them all together, send me an email, and we'll start to discuss what that looks like and how much we charge. But what would actually be worth it? If you charged $700 a month, $1,000 a month for tuition, what would that person get that'd be worth it? Right. Some people have no problem spending $10,000 for a first class seat to go to, I don't know, South Africa or something, or to Europe, right? They don't care. They're happy to do it because they have the means and they want the best experience. Some people get the base trim of a car, and some people get the highest level trim of the car. That could be double or triple the price. So, what is that? And I think as a CEO, these are the things you want to look for, right? Things that could add a lot of profit, a lot of value to your clients for
Can I add something?
the top echelon.
We have
Yeah,
done that.
absolutely.
You just have to be careful to realize the extra effort that's going to put on somebody and then how that plays out in scale once it's really rolling. Like, if you get it to go, sometimes it seems like it's such a great idea. And then 3 years into it, it's like almost like too much to deal with. Like, all that extra
Right. Well,
stuff. And I'm not saying that that's the situation here, but we have done stuff where it becomes almost overwhelming to make sure we're giving that first class experience. I mean, I feel like we do give a first class. I understand what you're saying. Like, it's a different experience. But like if you're doing that, it obviously takes more effort and how you're going to do that, and just realize that if it goes, and it becomes bigger than two students doing it. We have 30, 40, 50 people doing it.
Well, you couldn't do that. You can't have 50 people in business class or first class. Right, you can't. That's the whole point. A whole airplane is not business class or first class. It's only the front section, right? I don't know what percentage of the airplane is it. 5% maybe,
I
right?
guess,
Maybe
but
10%.
I mean, it is only the front section, but when they have those double decker planes, like the entire top of it is, I don't know how many seats it is, but it's got to be 40.
Yeah, yeah, but the overwhelming majority, it's got to be at least 80%. Is going to be economy. So, and of course, you
Hold on.
can't
So
have everyone.
80% economy. So if you have 200 students,
Maybe 90%,
well,
whatever it
let's say it's
is.
80. So, or 90. If you have 200 students, it's still 20. If it's 20%, or it's 10%, but if it's 20%, it's 40. I'm just saying that, like, when you do it, it always sounds great in the beginning, but then you have to figure out, like, how you're going to maintain this high quality of deliverables. I'm just saying, like, you have to, like, really think through if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, and of course it has to make sense for you. Like it has to be like, hey, if someone paid this, I would happily do all these things. Right. And of course you could limit it. Like you can say, I'm only gonna accept 5 people. Once it's 5 people, I'm done. Like until someone else, falls out or graduates or whatever. It's no different than like my coaching program. I only accept 13 people at a time because if I do more than that, I just go crazy and I can't keep track of each person. So when I at 13, I wait till someone graduates out and then I add someone else.
Is that because you were born on Friday the 13th, which is actually today?
Good point. As the day is
And
recording, it's June
today's
13th.
not your birthday, but you were born on Friday.
Yeah, it's just what I figured out like actually makes sense, at least for me right now, for me to help people one on one. But anyway, all right, so let's go to the next thing is like skills you want to be really good at, besides staff development, besides having good profit centers or profit levers you can pull. The other thing we want to talk about is like high level like metrics tracking, right? So, is there a difference you think in metrics tracking between someone who's maybe in the builder phase, when that 10 to 30K a month or 30, 50K a month versus someone who's the CEO phase, like 50 to 83K a month?
The only difference is instead of I think I was terrible. I had no interest in keeping any stats. I went to every seminar. They always talk about stats, 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 stats. But the reality of it is we kept almost none. My opinion was we were in the school. I was in the school every morning at 9 a.m. I didn't leave till 9:15 at night. I would go home for lunch and stuff, but my point is I was there all the time. So I felt like I had my finger on the pulse and I felt like I was doing everything and like counting the cards or doing something else like that. I mean, we had a general idea of what our active count was and we were pretty good at like not tricking ourselves. And we knew what our revenue was, we knew what our profit was, but all of the other metrics that are clearly important, we didn't really keep track of. But we did keep track of, if somebody didn't set up a lesson, we would have a conversation and redo the script. Like, we did that every single time. But again, we didn't keep track of like, we set up 80% of the lessons. We kind of just like thought in our head what seemed right. So I think as if, at that CEO level, it's really everybody's at the CEO level, but I get what you're saying. Like you have more people. It's just keeping track of really the blocking and tackling, the basic stuff so that you know what to work on. If not, it's hard, like, oh, I didn't have enough enrollments this month. It's always the famous one. What does that even mean? I don't know what that means. Did you not have enough leads? Did you not have enough like conversion from to the to like an appointment, to the first lesson, to the second lesson, to the enrollment? Like, there's 4 different spots that it could be messed up at minimum. Where they're the wrong leads. Like, I don't know. I have no idea. So like the only way to know
Yeah.
any of that from any perspective is to know your stats. So as we've gotten more mature, we're way better at stats now.
Yeah, of course. And that's not one of your strengths. So you got someone else to make sure that, hey, he's the person that makes sure they create the stat sheet and track it because you don't love doing that. That's not what you love, right? You love teaching the class on Thursdays.
Well,
You love,
I wouldn't say that's true. I like it now. Like, I feel like I wasn't ready for it. Like, I didn't grow into it.
okay, that's fair.
Now that I see the value again, when I was in the school every day, like, to me, I would have rather been like working with a student or calling a school program or something than like counting something that I kind of knew was good or bad. Like, I already kind of, at least I felt like, which I know is the wrong way to do it. That's how I saw it. But now that it's like we're trying to, somebody again says, I don't have enough enrollment, or I have bad retention. I don't know what bad retention means. I mean, can mean 8 different things. But if we can, when we do the stats, we can pinpoint and say, oh, here's where the students are losing. Let's fix that. But if it's just, I can't fix bad retention. I don't know what that even means. Like,
Right,
I get what it
right.
means, but like, there's no way to fix that. It's not detailed enough. We need details.
Exactly. And that's what the stats help you figure out, right? It's like where the actual problem is. So, for instance, I had a client who said, I need more leads. And I said, how many leads do you get? First thing was he didn't really know how many
I,
leads he got, but then we kind of did some discovery, figured out he had about 20 leads a month. And I'm like, what makes you feel like that that you don't need, that you need more leads. And it's like, I'm not really sure because like we don't have new students. So I assume I need more leads. But that wasn't the issue. Like the more we dug deep to realize that the lead follow up was the issue. And if they didn't answer the phone or text and in the first time they reached out, they would just drift off to the distance and they would never be reached out to ever again. There was no lead nurture system, there was no automations. It was just if they didn't respond to that first one, then that was it. So that's what stats helps you figure out. It's like where the real holes are. Now I know that from experience from working in our industry and also within action karate is that like I think you pay attention to more stats as a CEO than I think you realize. For instance, when you open up a location in the beginning, you probably were not looking at as deep in like the demographics of an area. You're probably like, oh, this one's nearby, near my house. And like this is 10, 5, or I don't know, 5 miles away from the previous school. Now we look at the demographics. We look at how many people, what is the median house income, what is the median home value, how many kids are between the ages of 3 and 12 within a 3 mile range, within a 5 mile range. Like we look at all those things. So I think that's something you didn't do back then for sure, but definitely do now that you're smarter and more in the CEO phase. That way, we're not setting our instructors up or school up in a location that's going to be maybe extremely difficult. Now, can you survive in a location that's harder? Yes, if you have a great operator, they could thrive basically anywhere. But obviously, you're going to stack some chips in their favor if they're in a better area. Right. Okay. So the next part I want to talk about is the team vision for casting, like team vision casting, right? Because you're at the CEO phase. It's not, and you want to empower the team. Like, how exactly do you do that within a martial arts school?
I have no idea. I'm not really good at that. What I think we are good at is understanding what their goals are. So one of our North Stars is a Zig Ziglar quote, which is, I can have everything in life I want if I can help enough other people get what they want. So if I know what your goals are and I can help you get there, and obviously I'm part of the journey, then I also do well. So we're not super great at like, team vision, team mission, like have it written on the wall at every school. We talk about it, we kind of know what it is. Truth is, we don't really follow it. What we do follow is the truth is what we do follow is, hey, Mr. Brenner, what do you want to accomplish? And you might say, I want, one school, 250 students, 50,000 a month, and I work in the beginning 50, 60 hours a week, but within 3 years, I want to work 30 hours a week. Great, let's go. And somebody else might say, I want three schools, blah, blah, blah. Like they say whatever they want to say. Great, let's go. So I think that's what we are good at is knowing what each person wants and trying to help them develop into the person they need to be to get what they want. I'm not sure if we're so good at like, this is the action karate vision. I mean, the vision is whatever you want, we'll help you get there. Like our goal is to help you. And that's it. And if you get what you want, we're going to do well with you.
Yeah, and I think remembering, of course, what people want instead of forcing them to some corner of like, hey, here's what I want, you should want the same thing,
Yeah,
right?
we have people that could clearly do better. Like without a doubt, do better. Like when I say better, help more students make more money. When I say better, but when I talk to them, they're the super happiest people. They don't, they're happy with where they are. Like their balance of what they want is on point. And there's a book called like I think it's like the 13 like killer mistakes of management or something. And that's like one of the things. Like a lot of times the manager wants somebody to do better, and it's because they want to do better, not because the person wants to do better. Like I know you can do better, I know you can do better, but you might be like, yeah, I know, but like I'm home with my kids a couple days a week, and I go on these vacations, and like I don't feel that much stress. Like I love it. I know, but you could do better. Okay, but I don't want to. Like I'm good. But no, you could. And then like the manager acts like they're upset because that person's not doing as well as they could be doing, but the person's happy. So we try to, and it's hard for me because when I see potential, I always think you could do better. I think the same thing, but we try our best to remind ourselves it's your goal personally, not my goal. And if I can go for the ride and be a mentor and provide, like I look at action karate as like we're providing like the infrastructure or the architectural plans or the tracks to help you get to where you want to go. And everybody might want to go somewhere different, which is totally fine.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And like I know that when you were talking to me one time, I knew you were going to ask me what my one of the school owners that I worked with, what their goal was, and like I had it, and I was like, oh my god, I need to look, and the fact that I didn't know off the top of my head made me upset, and then I was like, all right, I'm saving it in under their name in my phone. So I put in there like what they actually wanted in my phone next to their Enneagram style, which is also something we'll share and save in their phone. So, and if you don't know, Enneagram style is kind of like personality test sort of thing, and everyone has like a certain number. And there's Myers Briggs. There's a bunch of versions of it. So whatever you want to do is probably going to work fine. But knowing what their style of communication is, so when you go to communicate with them, you speak to them appropriately. According to their style. That way, whatever you say will better resonate with them. And I know a lot of times, especially with ChatGPT, I think you've done this before. I know I've definitely done it. First of all, ChatGPT knows my Enneagram. Like I've uploaded my Enneagram sheet to ChatGPT. So when I get help assisting writing my newsletters and stuff like that, it writes based on my Enneagram style. But also, you could say, hey, I need to talk to this one who's a number 2 and I'm a number 5, and I want to help them do this. What's my best way to communicate that? And it'll give you the best way to communicate according to that person. That way, you communicate in the way they understand. So if you haven't done that, it's a huge hack. We love it. And I also have it just saved in my phone for like the most important people. When I say most important people, I'm sorry, that's not the right way to say it. I mean like the people who, yeah, you definitely, the people who like are the managers that run a location. I know, like I can look at their on their contact and find it like right away. I don't like dig through some Google Drive or something, right? It's just like boom, it's there. I know they're a 2 and a 5 or something,
When
right?
I was when we had one Brenner meetings, I was sitting there resaving everybody's name as they said their numbers as fast as I could. And at the beginning, I thought like, oh, they might not like that. But I think our organization now, like if you look at half the people's phones, it'll be like, Mr. Brenner 7 or whatever you are.
Oh my god, you got it saved wrong. You don't even know mine. This hurts my feelings. I can't believe this.
I
I
don't
know
know if yours.
yours.
I'm not looking at my phone, but I'm saying like I save it with their number.
You don't know mine off the top of your head.
I
I
hope
can't
you're an
believe
8. I'm
this.
just kidding. 3, 6.
I'm an 8 and a 3,
I'm an 8 and a 3 too. So there you go. It's easy.
or maybe I'm an 8 and a 2. Now,
Yeah, I don't think
oh my
I
god, I'm
don't
not
think you're as
sure.
good as me. I think you're one level below me. So 8.
You're probably right. Yeah, definitely. I agree. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to add for the CEO phase that you feel like is really important that people should know?
It's just different work, solving bigger problems and more issues. You know, and it's really just about people. I think the entire thing is just people development at the end of the day. I mean, that's all. That's. I'm not saying that's all it is. It's hard, but it's really not much more than that. Like you could probably teach a curriculum, like you could probably teach any curriculum. You could probably teach pretty much do anything if you have the right people. Like everybody figures it out. If you have the wrong people, it's like you've got the best curriculum, the best this, the best maths, the best building, the best location. It doesn't make any difference. Like you have but you could have the worst of everything with the best people, and it'll crush anyway.
Well, thank you so much for being on here. And then we're going to do a bonus episode for schools who are above $1 million a year. So we'll post that and record that later. And then I think part of that episode, what we should do, it should kind of be like a 2-part episode. Like, okay, if you're doing over $1 million a year and franchising versus licensing versus ownership. We can talk about more how to go from managing partners to managers to partners and what that looks like too. So it's like that next phase for people who want to do that. Sometimes you have one school or 2 schools or even just one, it crushes, and that's like the best lifestyle for what you want. Some people want to have 50 locations or something, right? It all depends like what obviously you want. There's not one that's better than the other. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you have a question, you can find me on Instagram at blackbeltbrenner1 or Matthew Brenner on Facebook, or you can find Solomon here on Facebook, Solomon Brenner. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hope this was helpful. And if you don't subscribe to the Black Belt Business Newsletter, I post 3 days a week. You can find the link on my Instagram and the link in bio to join the newsletters. 3-minute read, 3 days a week, each day on a different topic. That way you can grow your school for free and learn how to train your staff better and have better retention. Those are the 3 topics I cover. And if you think it sucks and you hate it, you can unsubscribe anytime and tell me about it. Thank you guys for listening. Bye, guys.